The Star Wars universe expands once more on Disney Plus with Faces from the Past. Hey everyone, Joe here from the Collection Covers, and welcome to our Obi-Wan Kenobi and our Andor unboxing. Happy May the 4th be with you day. And no, this was not planned at all. It was just how things lined it up because we've been a little bit pushed back in post. Anyway, here it is. We have the half of the second wave of the Disney Plus Steelbooks, which honestly, having now in my possession, having them here with my hands to be able to touch, with my eyes to also visually see. God, it's beautiful. It really, really is beautiful. Honestly, to say the least, again, Disney has been killing it with it. And I think last time, if I didn't mention the Mando unboxing, I'm definitely going to mention here that this is going to be one of the final farewells for Disney's in-house home media division, as they're going to be transferring all of their production over to Sony. So what does that mean for future Disney Plus Steelbooks? I really don't know. I'm just very happy we at least got 8 of them, and these are going to go on my wall. Well, the Marvel ones, you know, Star Wars, I gotta make space for it eventually. But here it is. Here we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, the complete series, and Andor, the complete first season. So a little bit bummed for the Obi-Wan fans, considering the fact this does definitively prove once and for all Obi-Wan is a limited series. It was just meant to be those 6 episodes. The story's done. Whether or not we get Ewan McGregor back in the future, who knows, but it will be in a different incarnation, at least because the Obi-Wan story is over for now, at least his solo adventure. And as for Andor, we know a season 2 will be coming at some point next year. So, yeah, honestly, I'm still blown away the fact that not only did we just get 2 Mando seasons, we got Obi-Wan and Andor, that, you know, again, regardless of how things go in the future with Disney's physical media in terms of these, like, specialty exclusives, I don't know what the future may hold, to be honest with you, but at least, you know, getting Obi-Wan and Andor on Steelbook is just, at least just from the get-go, it's such a beauty. But with all that being said, let's get into unboxing Obi-Wan and Andor on Steelbook. So first off, we have the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the complete series, and just from the cover alone, oh man, this looks so beautiful. We got Obi-Wan squaring off against Darth Vader in their, I guess, second of 3 official matches in the Star Wars canacity. And then we have Obi-Wan and young little Leia Organa. It's just the newest duo, because it just seems like, okay, it's not a Mando season, but it's not trying to be like Mando, but it's definitely not Andor. I guess it's in that weird middle line where, like, it's more different. I don't really know how to explain it anymore, but this cover looks really fantastic. It really, really does. It's very simplistic. It does its detail. And yeah, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi is like probably one of the greatest castings in human history. Just to be honest with you, thank goodness for George Lucas on that. The side profile, just the Obi-Wan Kenobi as a logo is very basic. Like, I guess just to symbolize that, yeah, like Jedis, like, you know, it's just very much like a very simplistic logo. We don't need like some sort of fancy big text. Like, and I'm not trying to talk shade of Andor right over there, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it's just funny to say the least. And on the back, we get to see Obi-Wan riding, I don't know the name of this creature, I'm going to say a camel, on Tatooine, you know, the planet with 2 moons, or 2 suns? I think it's 2 suns. I haven't watched Star Wars in a bit. I do apologize if I'm misconstruing. Honestly, in terms of like just the visual comparison, you know, because sometimes the steelbooks, like, they tell 2 sides of the same story on their steelbook. Some of them are just like, you know, just 2 artistic versions. That's just being like, you know, just, I guess minor spoilers, this is like one of the shots from the end of the series. So again, just the coloring, you know, just like, you know, the very much the shade of neutralness, because, like, you know, Obi-Wan is like, he's not the hero anymore, but he's definitely not trying to be, he's just in the middle of things, you know. So definitely this entire cover, like in the back, like definitely sells the mood for everything for this entire for this series. And going inside here, we get the disc, which is, one is with Obi-Wan and the other one is with Darth Vader. So I honestly found it to be a really, really cool touch for them to be able to put onto this version of the steelbook. And on the inside, oh man, you got Darth Vader and Obi-Wan squaring out. I forgot which one this was. I don't know if this was their first fight in the beginning of the series or their second fight towards the end of the series. I completely forgot. But this is just so menacing. Just like, you know, once again, 2 fated partners dueling yet again. And just, you know, Darth Vader, it looks like he's got a bit of an edge, but Obi-Wan's not quite backing down yet. God, I love it when they use both sides of the disc cover. I really was happy with this. I really was. Oh God, I'm just getting all so giddy right now. So weirdly enough, for the J card, this is the only one of the 8 steelbooks that has like a gigantic, like, you know, block over here. All of them usually are cut off around here, like they minimize this, so I'm not sure quite know what the reason was for that one. That's a little bit weird in my opinion. The closest in my collection right now that I can see that even comes close to it is probably Shang-Chi from a couple years ago. That's probably, I think, the only one that would even suffice close enough. But regardless, you know, I guess the logo was just too big to like really squeeze into a small tag. Well, who the heck knows what they were thinking. The more smaller print logo, and on the back we get to see some more goodies, so we get to see more of the more clear shot, the inside shot from the inside of the steelbook, telling you what's going on. This one has the first 3 parts. This too has the secondary 3 parts. The never before seen extras. I don't quite think these were on Disney Plus. Again, I could be wrong. I know they made like a making of Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I'm not quite sure if they just cut them out or something like that. I don't really know 100% speaking. I'm not 100% clear. As someone who has only watched the commentary like after the show came out 2 years ago, I completely forgot. But honestly, again, you know, at least you're getting some extra goodies, not just the 6 episodes, so that's very much appreciated on that one. Now let's take a good look at the bonus, I guess, concept art cards. We get 3 of them. This is Leia on her planet Chorus. It's not Coruscant. Alderaan. I forgot if that's her adopted dad or Obi-Wan. I want to say that's just a regular general. I really don't know. It's been a while since I watched the show. Maybe like coming up in 2 years and a couple of months. But again, you're just like, not just, you know, the ability that the Star Wars franchise gets to go back to some of these very iconic places we used to see, whether it was the originals or the prequels, or even in some cases the sequels. It's always just breathtaking to like to think that, you know, it's all connected somehow. Like the story can always go back to some very old familiar places. Except over here we have Obi-Wan during his battle in the underwater Inquisitor base. I'm not quite sure, like, you know, it's kind of hilarious. There's been now 2 instances of former Jedi or still hidden Jedi going to underwater bases and blowing it up. It's only been 2 times we've seen it on camera, but I'm like, it's a little bit kind of coincidental. It's happened 2 times. Obi-Wan looks a bit different here. I'm not sure it's the shading, or maybe they were trying to do something different with his outfit this time around, considering the fact that he was going to grow his older look in a little bit. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is with this lighting, but either way, it's such a pretty cool shot. Just like the coloring alone just makes him much more vibrant and stand out. And finally, we have Darth Vader exiting his little pilot ship at the end of the series before he begins his second fated duel with Obi-Wan. Again, just so I think this is the one case where like they were just trying to set up the framing for this shot, but honestly, the mooding and the lighting they did in the show, I think it makes it more superior. Like some cases, like the concept arts can be like, you know, hit or miss. Again, this is concept. This is just stuff that like, you know, they were thinking about when they were making the series. So this isn't quite how it was going to look at the end, but just still how close it could go be. But you know, I definitely did like the final version we got to see at the end of the series. Now heading into the other good-looking Latino. Okay, I'm just joking here. I was trying to make a good-looking Latin joke, but I failed. Here we have Andor, the complete first season, which again, compared to Obi-Wan, which has so much of its legacy tied into the characters and just how important they are in the side, we have Andor, which honestly, I'm gonna be completely real with you. When they announced Andor as a series, I honestly felt like, I mean, yeah, let's be completely honest here. This was the Bob Chapek effect where they were literally trying to grasp the straws. Like, what could we possibly make it to a Disney Plus show? What could we try to monopolize, you know? And, you know, Rogue One being, I think, still the most successful Disney era Star Wars film. Just being completely honest, just my opinion, that it would only make sense, like, okay, who from that cast can we spin off to their own show? Who would sign on to do it? And they picked Diego Luna, which, again, honestly, again, the fact is that Andor is probably one of the most well-written Star Wars shows ever. And again, just barring, you know, even I'm saying that, I still find, you know, I wasn't 100% into the story, but again, I do think I was the most engaged of all the live-action shows so far, including the Mandos, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, so... and even Boba Fett. I forgot that's a show. But yeah, no, Andor Season 1, again, I think it was probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars media that Disney has put out ever. So it's just quite hilarious how sometimes that can work into its favor. Here we have the cover, which, again, fulfills the mood of like, it's like rebellion color. Andor's just at the beginning of the rebellion stage, at least at the beginning of his rebellion career. Here we have the complete first season. We have the rebellion logo pinned on the middle, him in just like a very grusty looking gear, just ready to like see where the hell life's gonna take him next. Honestly, you know, it's similar to like how Obi-Wan was just so plain and simple, and Andor is just like so bold and dramatic. Again, it just speaks to the nature, like these are two very different shows, and that's just one of the benefits of like, working in Star Wars, where not everything has to be a space opera. Like, yeah, it is to an extent, but like there could be other types of story being told in the larger galaxy. So again, for Andor to fit into this little pocket, just like a realistic take somewhat, is just one of those like rare feats that you don't get to see that often. Going to the side profile, again, the logo being very bold, very like, I like the way they did the O, like, it's kind of a bit, it's stylized there. It's one of those like, it's not meant to be the logo, but it just kind of looks like the logo, which honestly sometimes it makes it even more better by a result. And on the back, we got to see Andor with, I want to say that is Stellan Skarsgård's character, one of his bosses, or like one of the rebellion's funders. I forgot what it's been a while since I've seen Andor 2. Both of these shows came out in 2022, so it's been a couple years on this. But I think this, from what I remember, this was such a pivotal chase. That again, like it was not that big in effects, but just the way they shot and the way the tensions were was pretty cool. And again, like when you're making a prequel to the prequel, it can become very difficult because in the fact you kind of know how things are going to end up. But considering how just thrilling and like engaging the story was, especially during one of these scenes, it very much tells like if you write it correctly, you shoot it correctly, you could still surprise the dickers out of your cast, out of your fellow audience members. And over here we just have random shots. We have the robot, we have Andor painted on there, we have one of the battleships. So not quite one of the most creative discs I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I'm just being completely honest. Like there's only the other shows have iconography printed on there. This is just one of those cases where it just doesn't have that, to be honest with you. They just printed random things from the show. Not to say as a negative, but still just something to comment at least. And then we have this shot, the inside shot where it's Andor, and I want to say it's episode 3 or 4 cars when he was kind of like lost for a little bit, because the way they structured season 1 was kind of like it takes place during a year, the first year of the 5-year wait before Rogue One, which again was interesting as a mythology to try and do like 1 year for 5 seasons, but it was like budgetary reasons. Let's just be honest with you. With that front, not a big fan of the emptiness. I'm very much of a critique about that. Definitely there could have been other shots you could have used to like use both sides, but again, it is what it is. By that point, I'll just dock some points from that because that's just how I am as a person. And lastly, we have the concept art cards, which this one is from, I think, from the beginning of the series when Andor's on the planet about to do the big heist to kind of get him in with Stellan Skarsgård's character. I want to say, again, it's been a while since I watched Andor, but again, this kind of feels more like just like setting the stage, setting the mood, like where are we in this episode, where are we going here with the overall journey. Here we have, I don't quite remember this from the series. Again, I'm very much talking about like you're asking me to select specific moments from that show. It's just been so long, it really has been. So I'm really trying to remember here, but it's just not quite coming to me. And then lastly, we have the pivotal prison episode, which again I think was one of the most well written, just like kind of like, again, you're bringing a little bit of realism into the Star Wars galaxy on TV, and they just sold it really, really well here. They really did. Just like the feeling, the tension that there is just no end. Like, this isn't like the other where like we know things are going to happen, but like, well, in this case, we don't know how it's going to happen. We just assume things are going to happen, but it's not. And it just kind of, gives a much more like bigger credence to this entire episode or two, just how, to sell the mood, to sell the tone that like, you just don't know what quite's going to happen next. Now going into the J card, which ironically, like I said before, Obi-Wan, that really big one. This one, very small. I don't understand the difference. Here we have the logo. Again, still happy to see that logo. Backside here, you get your special features. So this is the first one that actually have 3 discs. So you get 4 episodes on each disc. I'm assuming the special features are spread throughout. So with this one, you get Ferrex Part 1, Part 2, which are basically, they're just making up the origins of the show. Ironically, how they begun the show, how they're ending the season. So, which is pretty hilarious to say the least. Some special features about the other aspects of the making of the series. And that's basically it. Relatively speaking, again, like this being the first one to have 3 discs is kind of interesting to say the least about it, considering the fact that I think WandaVision had like 9 episodes. But then again, it was a different show, so maybe I'm reading too much into that. So just to say my last piece about it, again, the fact that we are here, that we now have 8 Disney Plus Steelbooks relatively available for people to go order, put in their collections. People that don't even want to buy Disney Plus as a streaming platform now have the opportunity to see these 8 seasons, and specifically with these 2. Again, very different opposite ends of the Star Wars galaxy, where you have one that's rooted in legacy, one rooted in such a grand like conflict that, at the time when the whole universe began, it was just like one simplistic line or two, then a very, a battle that at the time we just didn't know how much it really meant till we got to the prequels, and now to an extent the show. I'm aware that the show itself did not have its, a very fair reception. I feel like it's a modern day prequel where like people are still like, there's a lot to criticize about it, which again, like some of these things, the Obi-Wan as a opportunity to make either a movie or a series, it's just kind of weird in just how things develop, where like it never quite manifested to be a movie, but the show was like a bit too long on the ringer, or could have been expanded upon more. Again, this was a very interesting time in Disney Plus's history where they were trying to make every possible idea that they were thinking about a movie into Disney Plus show, and now we're in the opposite, where like things that were on Disney Plus are trying to be redeveloped for the big screen. So it's quite hilarious to see how things have come and gone. And for me, I personally enjoyed Obi-Wan as a show. Again, not being the biggest Star Wars fan on the planet, I still really like it. It's just I'm not the biggest thing, but I'm still tuning into nearly every single new piece of media that comes out of it. I think it perfectly brings back Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back into their iconic role, giving Hayden a real chance of playing Darth Vader, really getting Ewan like an extra nearly 6 hours of content to be Obi-Wan, on top of the 6 he already did for the movies. I'm actually pretty sure seven or eight. So again, this only adds to the lineage of his take on the character, and by the end of it, it's just like, again, sometimes there are going to be projects where like it's not going to be beloved. Not everyone's going to love it, but you can all agree that like yes, Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan Kenobi. He does carry the show, and that alone is a reason to watch it. Especially just getting to see his refound battleship with Darth Vader, his former apprentice, Anakin Skywalker turned evil. And this is only just the tip of the hemisphere with Hayden Christensen's role in Star Wars. Hopefully, we'll get to see an Ahsoka season 1 steelbook in the future. So I'll talk more about that when we get there. And as for Andor, again, just the very most unexpected things to be the most critically loved, where, of the 5 Disney-era Star Wars films we've gotten so far, that Rogue One is the best of them all, in my opinion. And then you have Andor, which, for a lot of people, agree that this is the best piece of Star Wars TV we got. No offense to Mando, no offense to the Filoniverse with the animated shows, to Obi-Wan, to Boba Fett, to Ahsoka even, that Andor somehow, it revitalize Star Wars, where like, again, Star Wars is always going to be a grand space opera. In the end, it's always going to be this like intergalactic adventure throughout the vast reaches of the cosmos, telling a story either of, good versus evil, light and dark. And then you have this story where like, it's smack in the middle of it, where like these characters, they're doing the right things, but they're not doing the most well-renowned methods to get to that, that everlasting peace. It definitely shows the gray side of just how bleak the world is. And, and I feel like that's just becoming more and more common in projects nowadays, where like, it's not always about good versus evil, which is actually hilarious considering the fact that even in Obi-Wan Kenobi, there was just that brief exploration of like, there is greatness where like Obi-Wan is not the hero, but he's not being a villain, but at the same time, what is he in this world? And Andor kind of falls into that similar pace where like, he just wants to live his life. He just wants to try and get by in this, this age of the Empire, and he just gets thrown into like, these scenarios which eventually would lead him to his destiny to be a very much of a pivotal forerunner in the rebellion. And so with Andor season 1, for me, again, not being so deep into it as many people are, I will admit that even on that sphere alone, that this show definitely was, I think, one of the best written pieces of Star Wars media in recent years. It definitely is engaging, captivating. Like the actors are really, really into these roles. With most of them we never even seen before. These are new characters just expounding the rebellion world like we never seen before. And I think that alone, and just, being as like, it reminds me of when Captain America Winter Soldier came out, where it is a superhero film, but that was, I think, the very first time, one of the very few instances where they added another genre to it. It wasn't just a superhero film, it was a political thriller. And that really captivated the fan. We're like, yeah, it's still a superhero film. Like, to its core, it's still a superhero film, but it's presented a little bit differently. It's stylized a little differently. And that's kind of the same amendment that I'll make for Andor, where you have those moments where, like, it feels like Star Wars, but at the same time, it feels like something different. And it's intriguing and captivating because, like, it's something new. in that same franchise we already know and love. So for me personally speaking, back on the Steelbook side of things, I think these two are like very, very well done. These are like near perfect status. I think Obi-Wan takes the cake a little bit because like they're using every side on the board here. They're definitely using every little corner to their advantage. The box is the J-card's a little bit weird, to be honest with you. A little bit weird on the centering, but again, you can't be a perfectionist for every single Steelbook out there. It just won't work there. And with Andor, again, such a real, I love the coloring on both of these, like the gray zone of Obi-Wan and the very bleak but still a little bit of light hopefulness for Andor. Andor just really lost some points there with not utilizing that fourth panel inside the Steelbook. But again, for me, the Steelbooks, the collectible cards are always a must. They're always like now just like a staple of these Disney Plus Steelbooks. Hopefully we get to see more, whether it is later this year or in the future, regardless of what that may be. I would love to see Boba Fett. I would love to see Ahsoka next on the Steelbook front. They also is Mando season 3. So they got quite a bit more content to still produce. So I think we'll have enough for another section of Star Wars in the future. But until that day comes, I highly recommend these two. If you are a big Star Wars fan, this is a must buy. Definitely pick these up wherever you pick up your local Steelbook, whether it's I was about to say Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon. I think also I want to say Target has them. Well, I don't think Target, but for sure Walmart and Amazon. So you can go pick them up there. Let me know in the comments below. Did you pick up your Obi-Wan or Andor Steelbook? Do you love them or do you love them? Let me know down below if your comments down below. We'd love to have a conversation with you down there. But I believe it's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been Collection Compass presenting to you the Star Wars Obi-Wan and Andor dual Steelbook unboxing. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, like, favorite, share if you want to, and please ring that bell to get notification when our next video is live. But until next time, again, may the 4th be with you on this very special day. Stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.